Ladies and gentlemen. Um, Today is Sunday, December 21st. This week is going to be a short one, probably only maybe 2 to 3 trading days available. Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, definitely not Thursday. And then I would also stay away from the markets on Friday. Not much news this week. Realistically, only Tuesday news. Monday is empty. Thursday, Friday are empty as well. Um, so Tuesday, some stuff on Wednesday. These two, these two should cause quite a bit of movement in the market, but I wouldn't say that it's enough to to do a lot. But the Bank of Japan, um, whenever whenever Ueda speaks, he does speak about important things. So we'll see what happens with all of that stuff. Um, let's get signed in for some reason. Some reason I'm not signed in. There we go. So we have a bunch of new stuff here on this latest update for the TCT. Redesign trade details, screenshot uploads. Okay. Um, Enhanced journal entry, support change log. Good stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and walk through our list really quickly, starting with the trades that we took last week. NZD CAD, most obvious one was NZD CAD. We held from 2 weeks ago through last week, and we closed on Thursday or Friday, I believe. So super, super long hold. And we re-entered the trade again on Monday. So we basically held for 5 days on the second position and a couple days on that first position. So not a bad move overall. I would expect continuation to the downside. All we would need is a wick to the upside, retesting some previous structure, and then a continuation to the downside. Yeah, that's basically it for these two. We walked away with 5.5% on the first position and then 2.5% on the second position. EuroCAD, an unfortunate loss as well. We were in the trade, price pushed lower, came back above the EMA to retest the daily EMA. The wicked us out and then pushed lower the following day. Not terrible overall. I think now we've created somewhat of a head and shoulders pattern. So this could be the shoulder, head, shoulder, retest of the neckline to sell, or just a triple top. Overall, you have this big area of interest right here. That it would be ideal to see price break underneath a retest to sell. You can maybe make it a little bit tighter, like so. So yeah, realistically, you could probably just see price break underneath, retest to sell underneath on EuroCAD. If that ends up happening, that would be fantastic to see. But yeah, we took this loss last week, so that's -1 plus the 2.5 that we made. So realistically, last week we only made, I think, 1.5%, which isn't terrible. Yeah, so it's right here. Week 3, week 4, I'm not going to trade. I'm just kind of going to review the markets and keep myself up to date on what's happening so that in January, when I do show back up, I'm not like super surprised, like, whoa, what happened over the past few days. So yeah, let us start our breakdown by resetting our charts. Here we go. And we're going to start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now closed with a weekly doji handle, daily time frame, still bearish underneath the EMA. I think we created a double top, and right now we're retesting that double top here. So I would expect price to Excuse me, I would expect price to continue to sell underneath this area of interest, right? So we have weekly is bearish, daily time frame is currently bearish. So we have the lower low right here, and the 4-hour time frame is currently bullish. So we have a lower low right here, lower low, pull back, shift the structure up. Now we're just looking for a shift the structure to the downside, a reaction, a rejection, basically a break and retest underneath all of this consolidation to continue to sell. Super choppy last week and the previous week. We're not really seeing too much downward movement, but that should change relatively soon. Yeah, so here I would just expect to see shift the structure to continue to sell at some point. Since we're underneath most EMAs and most timeframes are bearish, we have around psychological level of 90,000. You have your lower time frame area of interest, which is a daily area of interest. You have 1, 2, we're creating a third structure point, or you already have your 3 structure points right here. There's 1, 2, and 3. So you have your area of interest right here. And then you have your lower time frame area of interest right underneath. So that is what I see on Bitcoin. SPX last week, we had a sell as expected underneath the 4-hour EMA. Basically, price created a double top on the 4-hour time frame, broke underneath, retested, sold, and we're now above the EMA here, above the EMA here, and above the EMA here on SPX, NASDAQ, and US 30. Above the EMA on the daily time frame across all 3 of these as well. So realistically, we should probably see a continuation to the downside or to the upside. Excuse me. One thing to note is we are buying back into this area of interest right above. Here we have the shift the structure on the daily. You have your double top right here, retesting the neckline of this double top. So there is a chance we might see more choppy movement, potentially a quick sell to the downside or a reaction. In fact, that probably will happen. On the 4-hour time frame, we might reject this structure here, sell to the downside, and then buy back. So if you look at the lower time frames, what do we have? We have this inverted head and shoulders right here. So if price does react to the downside, rejecting these structures, a retest of this head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, would give us the move to the upside. So that is something that I would consider for SPX, US 30, and NASDAQ. But you can see how choppy these moves have been. Not exactly nice price action to be trading. Now, what this does kind of look like is it does kind of look like this right here, where we were underneath the EMA, we were selling, then we broke back, we broke above, and then price kind of just took off. So overall, my bias is bullish on those 3 pairs or those 3 indices. Gold on the weekly time frame is continuing to buy. We're in one of those seems like we're in another one of those bullish pushes. I think gold should continue to buy throughout into next year. Silver's been moving better. I don't really look at silver. Let's see. Silver, I suppose it would be, should be, let's see. Did I not add it? Oh, I think I have to add it through here. Yeah, here we go. Silver. So yeah, silver, gold. I guess it makes sense. We should be looking at silver, shouldn't we? And now I have it. So I do trade on Top Step, but I haven't traded silver on Top Step. But yeah, silver has been aggressively moving to the upside. That you'll see that silver and gold have similar market structure, except gold right now is kind of struggling. Now I don't think that this struggle is really anything to be like concerned about. I think we're just kind of in an area where right now price is kind of moving sideways, kind of like this, where we're moving sideways. Eventually, we will have those really nice, crisp, and clean moves to the upside, but I think we might just be in an area kind of like this, where price is choppy for a while. All that really matters is that we're above the daily EMA. As you can see, price respects the daily EMA for the most part, quite a lot. Same thing here. But yeah, silver has been moving very, very much. 2 hour EMA especially seems to be respected here. Price pushes up, retest 2 hour, pushes up, retest 2 hour, pushes up, falls, retest 2 hour, up, down 2 hour, up, 2 hour, up. So it really has been retesting that quite a lot. And you can use that in combination with the 15-minute EMA, confirming that the retest of the 2 hour EMA is finished. So here, boom, push above the 15-minute EMA, retest buy. We're below the 15, now we're above, retest buy. We're below the 15, now we're above, retest buy. I mean, that right there is the strategy in and of itself. Combining the 4 hour or the 2 hour EMA with the 15-minute EMA, and potentially even a lower time frame EMA for your entries, depending on what you like. But yeah, it has been moving up quite consistently. I mean, I'm bullish pretty much across the board. Have you been seeing success in that, James? Like, you've been getting pretty consistent wins? Yeah, so it has been very choppy on the 4 hour time frame and so on. I have managed to catch a few moves right here. I was able to catch a sell on um on gold, sell right here, a buy right here, a sell right here. Same thing, just 15-minute EMA in in confluence with the higher time frames. But I've been trying to take one good trade a day on these moves. So, and here actually, I don't think I never put it in, but I had a buy right here as well before price took off. So pretty good overall. And in terms of gold, I think we're just going to continue, but continue with buying, just push pullback as it has been. We're kind of creating this structure right now, right here, where price is moving more so sideways, letting the EMA catch up. Once the EMA catches up, maybe once price falls into the EMA, I do think that we'll just continue seeing, bullish price action. In fact, I think in terms of where we are right here, we've seen this in a few areas in price where price is moving sideways and then it has a push to the upside, only then to fall back to the downside, retest the EMA or previous structure, and then continue to press higher. So this, and this are perfect examples of that happening. So you're just looking for confirmation on the lower time frames in order to take those types of moves. Second funded on NAS and silver. Very nice, bro. Very nice. I'm happy for you. All right, that took a while. Let's move on. The dollar index. So the dollar index right now is closed with a rejection weekly candle, retesting this inverted head and shoulders or double top neckline, this area of interest that we have here. So it's retested it and now it's pulling back. Um, I don't know, guys. I think that here we might see price break through this daily EMA. Usually, I mean, obviously, it's not guaranteed to happen, but usually what we see is, well, let's see. Yeah, with the weekly time frame, I would say that we're going to open, create a small wick to the downside, and we're actually going to close with a bullish weekly candle here. So maybe retesting. I think we might be retesting this double top. Maybe that's what price is trying to do. Retest the neckline of this double top. But if we're also thinking about that, then we've already done that. We've done that right here, where price closed down here, pulled back, retested the neckline of this double top on the daily time frame and on the weekly time frame. You see how this weekly candle closed, and then the next weekly candle pulled up, retested, and sold. So very, very clean trade there. I mean, realistically, very clean. Retested the 4-hour EMA, doji, engulfing candle, and that the rest is history. Super, super nice market structure. For now, I would stay away. I think the price is going to open, push down, and then just buy. I don't know when it's going to stop. I don't know if it's going to stop. We might actually see price shift bullish on the daily time frame. Yeah, weekly is bearish, daily is bearish. So you have weekly bearish, daily bearish, 4-hour is bullish. So we see the 4-hour shift, pullback, engulfing, and price continues. All right, let's move on. Let's go through our pairs and see if we can get anything nice for the beginning of the week. Once again, the holidays are approaching. There's not a lot of news, and it's not worth the headache of trying to trade or force trades this next week. I think if it's nice, you should take it. If not, then you should stay away. And if you're trying to like pass an account and you're like, oh, I really want to pass this before New Year's, give myself a little Christmas present or a little reward to go into next year, really not worth the headache because you're probably going to end up ruining your progress and then going into next year with destroyed confidence. The best option is always just take things slow, take things easy, treat yourself for the holidays, and then just come back next year and destroy these markets. So here on NZD CAD, the weekly time frame is probably going to create a wick to the upside. I would expect a wick to the upside and then a bearish candle. I mean, that would only make sense to me the way that price sold. We have a bearish engulfing candle, and we're just looking for a continuation to the downside. I think it's unfortunate that price pulled back so aggressively on Friday, but it is also kind of unavoidable. So let's go ahead and grade this. If we were to take a continuation trade, right? Weekly time frame is bearish, daily time frame is bearish, and so daily time frame is bearish from here down, and the 4-hour time frame is currently bearish from right here to the downside right there. Do we have a round psychological level? Yeah, we have one at 0.9 or 0.795, right where we are. Area of interest, daily area of interest. Not exactly. The daily area of interest is much higher, and there's a chance price makes it up to the daily area of interest. But I think that we've already retested this neckline. But there's nothing stopping price from pulling back, maybe retesting it again to continue to sell. So that's going to be our analysis is that price does end up breaking above, retesting that area up there in order to sell, right? So that's going to be if price decides to do that, then we will be able to take the trade. So on the weekly time frame, as of right now, there's no pattern. There is no retesting of previous structure. There's going to be no retesting of previous structure, no EMA, and not really a candlestick rejection, unless you consider this being a candlestick rejection, which it could be. We were in the area of interest and we rejected the area of interest. but I would consider this first candle being a candlestick rejection or even the second candle. But the third candle, I don't know about that. So on the weekly time frame, we really don't have any confluences. On the daily time frame, we have this head and shoulders retesting. So we do have pattern. We would be retesting previous structure. We would be retesting the EMA with a bullish candle. And then hopefully, well, that's the thing, right? If we're waiting for all of this to happen, it would take a few days. We'd have to have a pullback candle. We would have to have a rejection candle and then the continuation candle. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Wednesday, the continuation candle needs to reach your take profit before the halt. Well, it doesn't have to. I guess if you're far enough from your entry, then it doesn't really matter what price does on Christmas Day, because then you're going to have the day after Christmas, and then all the way to New Year's of trading. So that's about 5 days of price action, but that's the following week. That's the day after Christmas is Friday, then you have to wait for the weekend. So this is realistically a trade that could take over a week. In fact, what might happen is next week we might get a pullback candle, and then the following week we might get the continuation. That could be where we're looking, what we're looking at here. But anyways, yeah, so we're looking for the candlestick rejection on the 4-hour time frame. Will be above the 4-hour EMA. Price will go bullish temporarily, so we'll have to wait for like a shift of structure on the 4-hour time frame. Do we know if we're going to have a pattern? Not really. I mean, we do have, let me delete this. We do have a pattern on the 4-hour time frame here, head and shoulders. So that could be the retest of the head and shoulders neckline. But I do like patterns that are a little bit more immediate to the price we're trading. This is kind of far away. It's like trading down here and talking about this head and shoulders up here. The pattern that I would like to see would be like a 4-hour double top and then break and retest of the neckline. That would be a pattern that I'm looking at. So let's hope for that there's a pattern with the daily rejection candle. And then also we want to see a retest of the previous structure. So if there is a double top, then that would create a neckline, which would be the previous structure for us to reject from. So we're building up the confluences there. We would be retesting the EMA, hopefully, if we create a double top right here, then we break underneath, we retest the EMA, and the EMA would do something like this, right? So that's kind of how we would want to see price action happening. This would be the previous structure. This would be the EMA. This right here would be your entry. Like this is where you want to enter price. Not up here, not up here, not down here, right here after you get that retest and rejection of that EMA. And then you have your candlestick rejection, which should happen also like right here. You see your pullback, rejection, and continuation. We're going to be underneath the 4-hour EMA. We should be underneath the 30-minute EMA. You have your entry confluence, whatever. That's 100% for your trade. You have 3 out of the 4 of these. You're looking good. You're looking very good for this continuation trade. Probably looking closer to Christmas or after Christmas. But yeah, that was basically like an entire lesson on price action. But yeah, let's just continue. Is this a trade that I would be interested in? Potentially. I'm just not really interested in it probably this week. But I do like the price action. I do think that there's potential to continue selling there. Moving on, NZD CAD. We have not NZD, EuroCAD. What is EuroCAD doing? Well, last week EuroCAD had a rejection candle. So yeah, you're bearish on the weekly time frame, daily time frame under the EMA, bearish engulfing, pullback candle. You're bearish on the daily time frame and 4-hour time frame. You are also bearish, and you're currently having a 4-hour pullback. So I think that the 4-hour pullback will probably continue into, above the EMA, into this area, and then I think we'll actually sell. So at the moment, you have 3 timeframes in sync. You have an area of interest. You don't really have around psychological level. Weekly time frame, you do have a pattern, maybe like a double top, maybe like a head and shoulders. You're retesting the neckline of this area, so retesting previous structure, and you have a weekly candlestick rejection from last week. Daily time frame, you have, let's move this down here. Daily time frame, you're looking at on the daily time frame, you have your pattern, right? You have your triple, quadruple top. You're retesting the previous structures. You're retesting the EMA. We've done all of that stuff this last week. And you have your candlestick rejection. So you have your rejection right here. I think this is a pullback. And then we're probably going to see a continuation at some point soon. On the 4-hour time frame, you're having your pullback. Your 4-hour time frame has created a double top. Ideally, you could probably enter here, but ideally you'd want to enter after the retest of all of this to sell. That's the trade that you want to take in a perfect world, because then you'd have your pattern, you have your double top, triple top, you're retesting previous structure right here, you're retesting these previous structure, you would be retesting the EMA, because by then the EMA would be somewhat right here, and you would have a candlestick rejection inside of this area with a engulfing or a doji candle, rejecting the EMA and confirming your entry there. You'd be underneath the 4-hour EMA, underneath 30-minute EMA, and then you'd have your entry signal. You're looking at about 120%. So another great trade setup. Same setup we had right here, except with this one, we kind of got taken out a little bit earlier than we would have liked. Still a great trade. Like, obviously, I had asked the AI to analyze the chart for me, and everything looked good. Everything looked good, except for my stop loss placement. I think it could have been placed a little bit better. But regardless, I'm not trying to sit here and trade with a 40-point stop loss or 35-point stop loss. It doesn't make sense to me. Although this would have been a 50. Yeah, it would have been double the size of the stop loss that we used. That's just not ideal in my eyes. If I can trade with a tighter stop loss, I'll do it every single time. But yeah, let's see. Shift the structure, retest. Yeah, all I'm looking for is going to be a break and retest underneath the area. Here you have 120%, and this is why I would take the trade. Potentially this next week, but we'll see. How do you make the AI analyze a chart? Well, the AI is it is part of the TCT. You have to have, I think, the Pro version. I'm not sure. But basically, you just say, break down this chart for me. And it really just reads it, gives you any information that you might, it kind of does an analysis for you, basically. If you miss anything, you can ask specific questions about it. There's actually a guide of how to properly utilize it. So the trend, market is in a downtrend with the higher lows or lower highs, lower lows. The EMA is sloping downward, confirming bearish momentum. So you see that happening. You have your resistance zones, 16195, 1619. Wait, what is it? 16195. I think it's right here. Yeah. So you have 16195 right here. This is your resistance area where you see price tapping in multiple times. And then you have another one at 16225. You have your support levels down here. Price action, the recent bearish candlesticks near the resistance indicate selling pressure. So you have all of this happening here. You have your EMA, prices below the EMA, potential move if price breaks below 16160, um, then you might be able to sell, so kind of just reads it, I guess. There's a lot more you can do. You can ask it about news. In fact, here you go. There's a whole website about how to use the actual AI. You can ask if you trade stocks, you can ask like without having to look at the chart, what is the current price of Apple? What is Nvidia doing? You can ask what fundamentals are for certain companies, earnings information for like this is a lot of it is for like trading stocks and different things like that. But you can also it works for Forex. I think the examples that were given here were what is this? Let's see. So core features, and then you have your technical analysis. It literally helps you use the what are they called? The indicators. Yeah, so it helps you use indicators and kind of read over that. Um, you can really ask any questions you need. Like, let's see. There you go. So what is the rate of the dollar versus the yen? Things like that. And I guess there's more things coming soon. Use at charts, areas of interest, higher highs, higher lows, risk to reward, trend line, and common mistakes. So you can get, I think 10, yeah. So it is the pro subscriber. You can use it 10 times a day. So and then it resets every day at midnight. But you really realistically don't need to ask 10 chart questions a day. It answers any questions you have within one analysis. But yeah. All right, so EuroCAD is a good one. Let's move on. I got about 30 more minutes that I can be on this call. Weekly time frame is currently bullish. So weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bullish above the EMA, bullish engulfing candle, retested previous structure. 4-hour time frame above the EMA, trading above the EMA pretty consistently. We're trading kind of sideways. I think we're waiting for the EMA to catch up to price. Before then, we will take off and continue to the upside. Price respect the 1-hour, 2-hour, and 4-hour EMAs quite a lot. And you can see that on, just in general, recent price action history. Euro NZD trades very, very clean moves. Like if you scalp it, you could probably take some really, really nice trades on Euro NZD. Is this a trade that I would be considering to take? Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for a continuation to the upside. This is not a trade that I took, but it is one that I'd be interested in taking. One thing to note is that we've seen price struggle inside of this area. We have multiple rejections. You actually have an area of interest right here that price has sold from before. So kind of keep an eye on that. But in general, like if you look at the monthly time frame, this wick right here looks like it needs to get filled in by the candle, and we only have 10 days left in the month. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw that higher high coming in and taking over. I think most of the trades from last week are still pretty valid in my opinion. So Euro NZD is a good one. NZD USD. This one is one that I think has changed a little bit. So we've had this weekly pullback that's been happening for a long time. And we're in an area now where price can do one of two things. It can have the continuation to the upside, which I really, really doubt that it will, because we have just retested the weekly EMA and rejected it. Euro CAD is going down, but Euro NZD wouldn't it make sense for one or the other? Not exactly. So if you notice that the NZD is the reason that price was moving. Okay, so if you look at NZD, you can see that there was a huge move that pushed price down. Same thing here, Euro NZD. There was this same huge move at 22 on December December 14 at 2200 or 2100. Same thing, December 14 at 2100. There was a news event that pushed price in opposite directions on the NZD pairs. So the euro is no longer controlling what price is doing. It's actually the NZD pair. So Euro CAD and Euro NZD look different because there's different fundamentals driving them at the moment. But yeah, NZD USD, you're going to see probably a similar thing here. Yeah, so here, 2100 on the 14th of December. Price has determined that it wants to go down. So we were going up and then we sold very, very aggressively. And from here, I do believe we should see more selling happening. We're underneath the EMA. We have head and shoulders. We're retesting the neckline of the head and shoulders at the moment. Like literally right now, we are retesting this neckline. In my opinion, I don't see why price would not just continue to sell. All I'd like to see is a bigger wick on the weekly open, wick to the upside, and then just a candlestick to the downside. Now you have to notice, or you have to note that the weekly time frame is currently bullish, so you're kind of trading against the trend. Daily time frame is also basically bullish. 4-hour time frame is currently bearish. So it is a counter trend trade. You're trading with one time frame. Now you can wait for 2 or 3 more days and wait for price to sell, right? Price might sell very, very aggressively, even into this structure right here. So I think it will sell, if I'm being honest, I think it'll sell right here into this area of interest. Now, what's going to happen once it reaches this area of interest? Well, it's going to exhaust itself. Sellers are going to get, scared, and buyers are going to buy back this price. Now, where is it going to buy to? It's not just going to buy all the way up. No, it's already decided that we're going to sell. You have your daily and 4-hour time frames in sync, and we're underneath the EMA. So we're going to retest this area, and we're slowly going to buy back. Now, if there is a strong rejection, like price sells and then all of a sudden we're back up to here, then it's a different story. But what I want to see is I want to see a slow, consistent buyback into the EMA. So this EMA is now sloped downward, and then we will be able to take the sells on this pair. So this is what I'm looking for right here. And my entry will be somewhere within this area right here after we get a proper rejection of the EMA and of the previous structure on the daily time frame. Then the daily will be bearish, the 4-hour will be bearish, so on and so forth. So I do see some good opportunities lining up for NZD USD, probably some of the other USD pairs as well, for sells. So in my opinion, that's what I'm going to be looking for, is a shift on the daily time frame, right? A pullback and then a sell. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in general there. What this might look like on a weekly time frame is a weekly candle to the downside, right? It'll be a wick up, a body. So this body will look somewhat like this, probably with a wick to the downside. And then the next week, maybe the body will be a little bit smaller. Maybe it has a wick to the downside, right? Because we had the pullback the rest of the week. And then the next week, we're going to have the wick to the upside and then a very, very aggressive sell to the downside. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on NZD USD. And now if you notice, like, I'm expecting price to take its time. Like, I'm not like, oh, this needs to happen this week, or, oh, I really need this to play out in my favor. No, I'm allowing price to do what it wants to do. I'm not going to sit here and try to force anything that isn't ready yet. And that's like, I think that's the difference between a beginner trader and an experienced trader. Like, where you guys want to get isn't to a more profitable place, it's to a more patient place. So you're in sync with the markets. You know that they're going to take their time. You know that something else has to happen before the move can happen. It's those types of things. All right. Euro AUD. Euro AUD, weekly time frame, has had somewhat of a rejection candle last week. Daily time frame has had also a rejection of some sorts. We're creating a head and shoulders pattern here. Not a bad, opportunity in my opinion. I think that we could see a break and retest under the EMA, under the head and shoulders pattern to sell. So you're looking at the weekly time frame is currently bullish, but the daily time frame is bearish, and the 4-hour time frame is also about to be bearish. So you have your higher high, and we're about to shift structure. So once that happens, your 4-hour time frame will be bearish. You'll have two time frames in sync. You will be trading underneath the EMA, break retest to sell. Pretty solid overall opportunity here. Is very, very choppy in general. So keep an eye, be aware of that and prepared for the potential wick out or whatever you might be looking at. We're not going to go through all of the confluences, but you guys can probably come up with those by yourself. AUD USD. Looks like we are in an area where price could be creating a double top, right? So we have a double top. Daily time frame is currently bullish. So it's going to be a lot harder for the daily time frame to go bearish since the structure is all the way down here. Weekly time frame is bullish, daily time frame, 4-hour time frame is bearish. So the 4-hour time frame is bearish from here down to here. Now these are very, very different market structures on AUD USD and NZD USD. The weekly time frame is bullish on both of them, but the daily time frame is a lot more spread apart. So you're not going to be looking at two time frames in sync for this trade for quite a while. And that's normal because price has done this before. It's had a very aggressive buy in a certain area, and then it took its time selling. So I think that we might be kind of looking at the same thing here. As we've seen in the past, in order to confirm that this is going to sell, I'd like to see price kind of sell into this area of interest right here, and then buy back and retest this next area of interest. Very similar to what we're looking for here. You sell, you buy back, and then you continue to sell, confirming that the trade is actually going to happen because we don't know if it really will. We need to see, like, actually, here's a perfect example of me making the same mistake in the past, right? If you zoom in, you'll see what? You'll see me trying to buy AUD USD from this area of interest. Now, what were my mistakes? My mistakes were that price was underneath the EMA. What happened? Price is still underneath the EMA. It looked good, but it's not. And then I try to buy it again, and price taught me another lesson. So it's really important to kind of wait for that extra confirmation. The extra confirmation would have been a proper break and retest above this area of interest and the EMA in order to confirm the buys, or just a break and retest underneath this area of interest. In fact, this is a very, very good visual of what we might expect to see, where we sold into this area, then we buy back, we're above the EMA, but we're still retesting this area of interest. Then we wait for confirmation. We broke underneath, shifted bearish, came back, and continued to sell. So very, very similar sort of story here, where we're going to sell, buy back. We might be above the EMA at a certain point. If we are above the EMA, we want to see price sell back below and continue to sell. All right, so that one I'm going to stay away from because we're already interested in NZD USD. There's better confluences there anyways. Let's see. Euro GBP. pretty choppy. I'm just gonna wow, I'm just gonna stay away from this one for now, until we get better a better understanding of what price wants to do. Euro USD weekly time frame closed with a weekly rejection candle. Daily time frame is bullish above the EMA. 4 hour break, retest, and sell. I'm going to stay away from this one as well, although my instincts want to say that after this type of a rejection candle, you're usually going to get a pullback wick and then a selling continuation candle, at least probably into this structure right here. So you're basically looking at this right here, is this pullback into the structure to continue to buy. Because that will be the retest of the double bottom on the weekly time frame, even though we've kind of already gotten that with this wick right here. So that wick right there is basically this daily pullback right here. So there's kind of mixed feelings on this one here. But in general, I would expect a sell. Like, we may not get the rejection, but I think we will definitely get the sell at the very minimum into here, and potentially even breaking underneath the EMA to continue to sell. So we'll see what happens with that one. At the moment, I'm going to stay away from it, but the opportunity is there if the proper setup is there. So you have your head and shoulder right here, shoulder, head, shoulder, break, retest of the neckline to sell. If price opens, we'll probably see another retest of the neckline and then a continuation to the downside. So that's kind of for you guys to decide. I'm not going to be interested in this one just yet. The weekly time frame is bullish, pullback, potential continuation. Daily time frame retested the EMA. And we're above the EMA on the 4 hour time frame. Retesting structure. From here, I could see price just buying, but we're still kind of in this really, really choppy area, so I'm not really interested. But I could see, once again, price just taking off to the upside from the area that we are in. Yeah, I would just look for similar to the way it happened here. In fact, the structures are almost identical, right? Look at this. Underneath, or so here, we're above the EMA and then we sell aggressively. We're retesting, sell. Actually, we'll do it from right here. So retest of the EMA, sell aggressively, pull back, small pullback, rejecting the EMA, above the EMA, buy, above the EMA, buy, so on and so forth. What looks the same? This looks identical. Literally the same structure. We rejected the EMA, sold, came back, created the same structure, like literally almost identical structures right here. Right, so this one and this one right here. And then price just pulled back, continue, pull back, continue. Very, very nice buys. So in general, I think that this should have a continuation to the upside. Weekly time frame is bullish, daily time frame is bullish, and 4 hour time frame is technically bearish. But if you consider this an elbow or this an elbow, then you're technically bullish. So let's just do internal ranges only. At the current moment, we're bullish. Okay, so we have 3 time frames that are bullish. You have your weekly, daily, 4 hour. You're at around psychological level 115. You have your area of interest. On the weekly time frame, do you have a pattern? Not really. Not retesting previous structure or EMA. Well, you are retesting previous structure. These would be considered previous structures. You do have a candlestick rejection. This last week was a candlestick rejection. Daily time frame, you have retest the EMA. You don't have a pattern. You do have a candlestick rejection to the upside, and you're not really retesting previous structure, but you could be. On the daily time frame, this right here is considered a previous structure, and we're currently above it. So any kind of a pullback to create the daily wick like this would be considered a retest of this previous structure. So that would be a confluence there. 4-hour time frame is above the EMA. We're having a pullback at the moment. What confluences are there here? Pretty messy price action overall. Maybe this could be considered an inverted head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder, pull back, retest to the neckline. So you could consider that a pattern, maybe retesting previous structure, the EMA, and you also have your candlestick rejection. You're above the EMA on the 4-hour, you're above the EMA on the 30-minute, and then you just need your entry signal after market opens. That's 110% trade setup for buys. This is one that I would consider taking. All right, 110% is pretty good. Euro USD, we talked about this one. GBP AUD, underneath the weekly EMA, daily time frame rejecting the daily EMA, 4-hour time frame creating a head and shoulders. Realistically, I would just wait for price to break and retest underneath the EMA. So at the moment, I'm not really interested. GBP NZD, GBP NZD bullish, engulfing weekly candle, daily time frame, 4-hour time frame. Not interested, just super, super choppy price action in general. And I've also haven't had the best luck. Like, okay, look at this. You could have been, since the 20th of August, you could have entered a trade and had no stop loss and ended up in the same place 3 months later, 4 months later. So just super choppy price action. I've also taken, it looks like 3 losses in a row in the same exact place. So not interested in GBP NZD. USD, CAD, we're kind of at this area of interest right now, and we're rejecting it. So you could take some counter trend trades. Weekly time frames currently bearish. You have a weekly rejection candle from the area of interest. Daily time frame is currently bearish, and you currently have a rejection on the daily time frame, and 4-hour time frame is about to shift above the EMA. You have your inverted head and shoulders, break above, retest the neckline, rejection candle, and price is gonna continue to buy. At this point, I would maybe consider taking, at this point, I would maybe consider taking buys on USD CAD, but it is a very, very aggressive counter trend trade buy. But I do like the area we're rejecting, so I'm not too opposed to it if you guys are interested in those buys. Personally, I'm not going to be interested here. Super choppy, not interested. Weekly time frame, weekly doji candle, retesting of this neckline and all of these candles and wicks. Daily, this is a daily area of interest. Daily time frame is about to shift bearish. So if the daily time frame does shift bearish, then we're looking at a bit of a different story. I would look for a break and retest here in order to sell, but I'm not going to be interested in that. Let's zoom through the last bit of these. Not interested, too choppy. Okay. Wow. Yeah, so all the JPY pairs had an incredible move to the upside, kind of as anticipated. I can't lie. We were looking for a pullback to buy. It's exactly what we got. 4-hour pullback to buy, break and retest to buy. Here, I'm not sure what we were looking for. Break and retest above the EMA to buy. I guess that was it right there. Pullback to buy. Yeah, most of these played out spot on. I just wasn't really interested in taking any of them. And I'm not interested in taking any of them right now. So we're just going to move on. USD CHF rejecting this area of interest. Super choppy, so I'm not interested. But I would like to see sells at some point underneath this area of interest here. Euro CHF, same thing. We're rejecting this EMA on the weekly time frame. We had a rejection candle, pullback, and continuation. A head and shoulders pattern here. So I think right now we're kind of just looking at a retest of the neckline to sell. I do like this. Your weekly time frame is bullish, but your daily time frame is bearish, and your 4-hour time frame is also bearish. So this is looking very, very nice for sells. I think that most of the CHF pairs have recovered and are looking to start to sell again. They have all created reversal structures, heads and shoulders, shift the structure on the daily time frame. So here we're bearish, here we're about to be bearish. Same thing here. This one's going to take a bit longer. This one has already shifted bearish. I think out of all the CHF pairs, Euro CHF looks the cleanest in my opinion. You have the head and shoulders. You broke the neckline. You're underneath the EMA. All of this looks really, really nice for sells. So this would be one that I would be interested in potentially taking. I think that kind of concludes the breakdown for today. The pairs that I would be interested in trading would be NZD CAD. This one needs, I think it needs a weekly pullback, but I would say at the very minimum, a 4-hour pullback, even the 4-hour pullback would go bullish. I think a daily pullback into daily area of interest to sell seems pretty solid. And then EuroCAD needs this one looks a little bit better, but this would be a break and retest under area or under, what would this be called? The neckline and area of interest to sell. So break and retest would be on the 4-hour time frame, I'm pretty sure, or the daily, I guess. This one would be Euro NZD. A 4-hour pullback to buy. I think we already have that written down. Yeah, 4-hour pullback to buy. Here we need a retest of neckline to sell. And I'm pretty sure that is, no, we have a few more. This one is a 4-hour pullback to sell, or to buy, excuse me, to buy. Then we'll delete this, and this. 4-hour pullback to buy, and 4-hour pullback to sell. So let's order these by what we think they are. This one will go to the top. I like the structure here. This one is a 4-hour pullback to buy. This one is a 4-hour pullback to sell. 4-hour pullback to buy. Break and retest to sell, and then a daily pullback to sell. Obviously, this one might not, this one might look more like, actually, there's nothing here that really resembles what this one might be. But yeah, I do think that this one needs more of a daily pullback. So this is the list, and this is the order of which I will be looking to trade them. I won't be trading them, obviously, but this is what I'm anticipating. I'm just putting in extra practice for analyzing and reading the markets. In fact, I think this one might be better than that. This is kind of a break and retest type of a trade as well, but it is a head and shoulders pattern, so I guess that's okay. this. Yeah, so that's going to be it for that would be it. This is it. Okay, final. This is it. No more changes. All right, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys are able to catch some of these moves. Remember to spend time with your families over the holidays. Don't just sit in front of the markets and wonder why you're losing every trade. It's because there's no volume in the markets. Everything's going to be super choppy. If the moves do happen, which they might, you'll be lucky. But it's always best to practice patience and discipline in order to avoid unnecessary loss or stress. So, all right, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.